we have been covering the issue on ground for quite some time. Recently, the election dates have been declared, and for the first time in West Bengal, we are seeing that the elections will be held in 2 phases. How do you think this is looking in comparison to the other elections that we have had so far?
The Trinamool, we all know, is facing this anti-incumbency of 15 years.
But there were no Muslim candidates from the BJP. So if you could give us a little more insight on that.
For the BJP, they are quite sure that the Muslims are not going to vote for them. What we essentially are witnessing is a rerun of 2021 where Nandigram became the hotbed, and now it is Bhawanipur. It will say that the BJP is a party of outsiders.
Hello and welcome to The Hindu. I am Shrabana Chatterjee. With me today I have my colleague Shiv Sahay Singh. Today we will discuss the upcoming West Bengal elections and how it is looking on the ground. So as Shiv, we have been covering the issue on ground for quite some time. Recently the election dates have been declared, and for the first time in West Bengal we are seeing that the elections will be held in 2 phases. How do you think this is looking in comparison to the other elections that we have had so far?
So, in the past 2 decades, we are seeing that the elections are being held in 2 phases. If you can recall, the last elections, 2021, was held in 8 phases. Prior to that, we had elections in 26 and 2011 in 6 phases. Even the Lok Sabha elections were in multiple phases. So this was a demand raised by most of the political parties, particularly those in the opposition, to hold elections in 2 phases, and I think the Election Commission agreed to that. Even though there are concerns about political violence, post-poll violence, but going by the last experience of 2021, I think it was becoming very difficult to hold it across months in multiple phases. That is why we are having it in 2 phases. And I don't think the ruling party, the Trinamool Congress, has actually objected to it. So they are okay with having elections in as many phases as the ECI wants.
Yeah, like you had said that the people also start having lethargy by the end of it, given if it is held in like 7-8 phases. So 2 phases look better on ground, till now at least. So the next question I would like to ask you is, the candidate lists were published in the last few days, in the last week after the elections were announced. So like we were discussing, the ruling party, Trinamool Congress, who has been here for 15 years, has played it very safe with their candidate list. There was not much experimentation. A few candidates, quite a few sitting MLAs were dropped from the list. So what is your analysis on this, and why do you think it was safe to say?
So when the list was announced on Tuesday, we both discussed that there were no big surprises in the list, and 74 sitting MLAs, including a few ministers, were dropped. 15 other were shifted. So if we do a percentage calculation, we see that about 1/3 of the entire seats have been changed. Now this is significant because the Trinamool, we all know, is facing this anti-incumbency of 15 years. So what they tried to do was to strike a balance in their candidates, keeping both the old faces and the new people. Some spokespersons were given charge who've been doing party work. So it's a very balanced list in a way, and it does not have the earlier experimentations which party chairperson used to do, where she would nominate anybody from the cinema,
industry,
music, this industry. So the Trinamool Congress has been very cautious in deciding the list of candidates.
I agree with you there, and taking cue from what you just said, so how do you think the women candidates and the minority candidates, SC/ST candidates, we know there are quite a few reserved seats, and minorities, Muslim candidates have featured in both left front and TMC candidate list, but there were of
Yes.
no Muslim candidates from
Yes.
the BJP. So if you could give us a little more insight on that.
So it was for the BJP. They are quite sure that the Muslims are not going to vote for them, and even in the past we haven't seen many Muslim candidates figuring into their candidate list. So it is on expected lines. Trinamool has given about 52 seats to women candidates, and even in the past, Trinamool has significantly given tickets to women MLAs, MPs.
Yeah, even in Lok Sabha.
Lok Sabha,
Yeah.
their number of their MPs is about, percentage wise, if we calculate, it's about 38-39%, and 52 women candidates by the Trinamool compared to 11 from the BJP and 27 from the left front. But we have to discount the fact that the left front and the BJP have come out with only half of their candidates. So yes, for an outsider, it looks quite surprising that, despite the significant Muslim population, the BJP has not fielded single Muslim candidates on the 152 seats they have announced. But this is also on expected lines as what their politics has been in West Bengal.
Absolutely. So the next most talked about thing currently is that both Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and Leader of Opposition Shubhendu Adhikari are fighting for the Bhawanipur constituency seat, though Shubhendu is also fighting from Nandigram.
Yes.
So what do you think about this, and do you think this will be one of the most high-stake seats in the current elections?
Of course, Nandigram is going to be the, as there will be many headlines and many coverages on that, it is going to be the epicenter of the elections. What we essentially are witnessing is a rerun of 2021 where Nandigram became the hotbed, and now it is Bhawanipur. And Bhawanipur, since 2011, I think Mamata has
held that seat.
Yeah. The last time when she was elected, her margin was significantly very high, 58,000 votes in 2021 by-elections when she lost in Nandigram and came to Bhawanipur. But again, in the last Lok Sabha elections, we see the BJP gaining ground in some urban wards. And it's basically an urban seat. So this is going to be a very interesting contest. And as we see, the CM has also said that some in SIR few thousand names were dropped. But she is confident of the victory, and Shubhendu is challenging her in her own stronghold, we can say, in her own locality. She lives there. So it's going to be a contest which many will keep an eye on.
So soon the manifestos of all the parties are going to be published. We are hoping that some of them will be published by this week. So what do you think are the key issues that are there in this election? We for one know that SIR has been one of the most talked about, and close second is DA and minority issues.
Yes.
So if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
So let us look at party wise. For the Trinamool, definitely SIR and the problem faced by the people during the entire 4-month period is going to be a highlight of this elections. Trinamool, again, like in the past elections, will bank on Bengali identity, Bengali asmita. It will say that the BJP is a party of outsiders, and the BJP is alien to the culture of West Bengal, and there is an attempt to impose an outsider culture on West Bengal. The Trinamool will also talk about how the Chief Minister and her schemes have helped the rural population, rural urban both population, particularly Lakshmi Bhandar and now the Yuva Sathi scheme. So these are going to be the main talking points for the Trinamool. For the BJP, if you have seen what the Prime Minister has been saying, it is they will focus on this alleged change in their demography in bordering areas. And the Prime Minister during his last brigade rally also put a significant emphasis on that. The Home Minister has announced that DA will be given to all
Yeah.
government employees, and 7th pay commission will be implemented
Yes.
in 45 days it comes to power. The BJP will also highlight instances of Arjikar and assault on women. So, and the left and the Congress will take up, mostly issues of migration, lack of jobs, failing infrastructure. So this is how these are the issues on which, this battle
Fought.
for
Yeah.
2026 will be fought.
Yeah. So, as we know, in the build-up of the elections, we had the Special Intensive Revision of the Electoral Rolls, or what we know as SIR. It has been much talked about. So,
Right.
but for all the states, it has been one way, but in West Bengal, it has been quite turbulent, how we have seen. People have been quite jittery about the whole process, and how do you think that will impact the upcoming elections, and what is the future of the 60 lakh people who are stuck in a limbo, even though we have had a publication of the final list which does not include them? So how do you think this will fare in the elections, and what is the future of these people?
So we had a final list published on February 28th,
yeah.
which had about 7.04 crore electors. This was a drop from 7.66 crore electors, which is an 8% drop. And now we have this 60 lakh, out of the 7.04 crore, we have 60 lakh under adjudication. Now the biggest question which everybody is asking is whether before April 22nd, we know that the elections will be held in two phases on April 23rd and 29th. Before April 22nd, will the election commission and the judicial officers who are involved in the process, will they be able to clear all these 60 lakh names? Now, what we are hearing is, and what assurances are coming from the CEO office, is that about 20 lakh people, they have checked in, and they will soon publish the supplementary list. But the question remains as to whether all these people, whether they will be allowed to vote or not, and if there are deletions, as to what extent these deletions are. Now, as you were rightly pointing out, that the SIR had dominated our political discourse since October, till we are in March. Now, after the announcement of dates, there is this feeling that, the BJP was never talking about it, but the Trinamool is also putting a little less emphasis on SIR, and they are going with their usual campaign. The only people talking about these 60 lakh electors whose fate hangs in balance are the left parties and the Congress. So we are in a situation as to we do not know whether all of them will be allowed to vote, whether 30 lakh will be allowed to vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like you said, the left, after the elections were announced, the left also said that they will provide all legal aid to the 60 lakhs, whatever they need to get included, and so that no legal voters of West Bengal should be taken out of the list. So taking cue from that, of how the left and Congress are talking about this SIR process, so as we know, they are also contenders of this election, though they left especially have not managed to
allied with,
this time they are not sharing seats with Congress, even though the last two elections they were in an electoral understanding with the left, where they were sharing seats with the party. So how do you think this will feature in the upcoming elections?
So it's a very interesting thing, because when the Congress decided to go alone, I think the left parties were quite keen to have Congress on board. But the Congress party in West Bengal decided that they will contest the elections on their own. So it did not make much sense, because in this elections they had a real chance, because we were hearing some voices of discontent among areas which the left and Congress are strong, Malda, Murshidabad. So it did not make much sense as to why they are contesting alone. But historically, if you look, the left and Congress have been political adversaries in West Bengal. In fact, in 2021, the Trinamool Congress had joined hands with the Congress to defeat the left, 34-year left front rule. Now, somehow they came together in 2016, and in subsequent elections they had an understanding, but they did not taste much electoral success. So, this not coming together, had they come together, their prospects would be better. But even now, if Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who's a 5-time Congress MP and former leader of the Congress in Lok Sabha, if he decides to contest elections, I think the Congress can do better. Even CPM has put in some very good candidates in respective seats. So there is no reason to completely rule out the left parties in the Congress. Even recently before the elections, Mausam Banerjee Noor came back to the Congress fold. So in those areas they might win a few seats, but all will depend on how the electorate perceives them. But I thought they had a chance if they had come together and joined hands.
So there are also a few small players. There are also a few small players like defected, suspended Trinamool leader Humayun Kabir, who launched his new party, and there is ISF as well. So how do you think they can steer the vote?
Right. So Humayun Kabir made a lot of noise with his mosque project, and he's decided to contest on 2 seats, put up candidates in 182 seats, including at Bhawanipur, where we know there is a minority population. So their influence would be limited into a few seats. They of course do not have a pan-state presence, and Humayun may be on a few seats in Murshidabad. ISF may retain a Bhangor and or give a tough contest to Trinamool, but their influence would be limited in few areas. But we never know, because what I am saying is that the Trinamool's biggest challenge is this anti-incumbency of 15 years, and everything will depend on as to what promises they are making to the electorate as to, for them to return to power. But these parties will not play a major role. What it looks from now, their influence will be limited to a few seats.
But what is playing a major role and has become a big debate in West Bengal is the sudden transfer of a lot of officers, top-ranking officials. Till now, 39. Yesterday evening, 39 officers, some of the top police officers, the chief secretary, the home secretary have been transferred in the last few days. So how do you think that will impact the elections, and what are the parties saying about it?
So transfers used to happen. Even I can recall 2024 Lok Sabha polls, the DGP was transferred. So transfer used to happen, but why we are calling it unprecedented is that 39 which you mentioned, they are all IPS and IAS officers. The chief secretary was transferred, the home secretary was transferred, the DGP was transferred, the ADGs have been transferred, the IGs and DIGs have been transferred, about a dozen of DMs have been transferred. So there is a complete churn, and there is a complete new administration which has been put into place. Now this usually doesn't happen. The Election Commission puts some faith in the officers. They can transfer 1, 2, 3, but this is completely a kind of a new setup. Now for the officers also it's quite a dilemma, because after the elections, if the Trinamool comes back to power, they know that they will be again shunted out. So, and for them, for an officer who's not been at the helm of affairs, suddenly coming and
right before the elections
and trying to head such a huge process. We have about 80,000 odd booths in West Bengal, about 7 crore electorate as it stands. So it's a challenge for them, and somehow the Election Commission is giving an impression that the entire administration is biased, which to me is a little too much. But I don't know how many more transfers. Will the transfers go to the BDO level or the local Thana level? I don't know. But it is quite, this kind of transfers, even in a state, West Bengal, which has been ruled by opposition parties all throughout for the past several decades, we haven't seen. So these transfers will may also become an election issue. But let us see how the thing pans out in the next few weeks. When we have a little more on the
as it develops.
Yes, manifestos and the campaign picks up and what the leaders are saying. Yes.
So as the campaigns start picking up, we will obviously get more important details coming up in the next few weeks leading up to the elections. So with this, we end our discussion today. Thank you for being with us. Please subscribe to The Hindu for more such content.